What's up, audio people? Today I am going to do a mix run through and I guess minor demonstration of the new, where is it? The new EZX that just came out by Toontrack, the modern middle EZX, the Will Putney drum library. I started off with the warm and wooden kit, and then I just exported everything out of Toontrack and onto the individual tracks. And here is what we have. Alright, so let's just jump right into it, because it's a little bit complicated what I did. So here I have my folders, kick through room, and in each one I have whatever was exported. I have one additional kick sample, one additional snare sample, but then other than that, it's just everything that was exported directly out of the EZX. So all of these drum tracks are going to a drums bus, which is over here. And then I also have all of these tracks that are also going to this drum bus that I'll get to in a second. The drum bus is then going over to this inside bus where I have my bus compressor going on. This is then going to my mix EQ bus where I have some EQ going on. And then that goes to my main, which is right here. But not really focusing on that today. It's more so about what I did to the individual tracks to get this drum sound. Cool. So we will start by muting all of this stuff we don't need. Start with the kick. So I've got the kick sample, which is very low in respect to the others. Kick in, kick into, kick out, kick front. If I bypass all the processing, mute this, this is what my kick sounded like at first. The first thing I did was some Pro Q3. Took out a whole lot of lower mids, boxy stuff. Next, added some high end, some like mid range for it to cut, also a little bit more low end. Compressed it using this arouser, which is a distressor emulation. Notice I'm not doing it 100% mixed. I'm doing this in parallel. Transient designer to increase the attack and decrease the sustain. And then I don't normally do this, but for whatever reason, some of the hits came out kind of erratic. I don't know if I messed something up during export, but just an L1, just so any hits that kind of pop through a little more, they just get tamed and it's a little bit more consistent. You'll notice that most of the time it's not even touching. And then I have a Pro Q3 with quite a big roll off on the bottom, but I have this automated so that it only comes on during fast double kick parts. Good example would be over here. And that's just to help the buildup of low end during those fast double kick parts. And then from there, it is being sent to a parallel compressor bus, a drum distortion bus, and the outside bus. And I will do all of those later on. Next, we have the snare. Mute that. Final kick sound. You'll notice the sample's not doing much. Next, we have the snare. Before all the processing and sample sounded like this. Bring in the sample. So first thing I did was filter out some low end up to like 60 hertz. Not really doing too much. Then added some top end, added some mid range, and added quite a lot of low end. Compressed it, again, not 100%. And then L1, because I was having the same issue as the kick. And then that is being sent to a lot of different buses that, again, I'll get to in a bit. And that's the final snare sound. Really simple, not too much. Mainly just EQ and compression. That's it. Next, we have the toms. Self a tom section. This little tom roll here. The first thing I did was get rid of some mid-range in all of them. All of the filters are going to be in like slightly different spots because they're all tuned differently, but it's basically the same move in each one, cleaning up that boxy mid-range. Next was removing some low end. Again, 60 hertz filter. And then actually removed some high end because I felt like it was too clicky up top. Boosted some mid-range, upper mid-range to where it could cut through more. And then compressed. Again, not 100% compression. And then L1, which this is a normal move for me to do on toms. This wasn't because of the same issue as I was having with the kick and snare. That's the toms. Again, just EQ, compression. What I really like about this library is, you know, Putney's known for his drum tones, but he gets it right at the source and really don't need to do too much to it. I would say most of the cooler stuff are these buses here that I'll get to in just a minute. That's why I'm kind of going through these kind of quickly. This is all just basic EQ and compression. Overhead bus, I got nothing going on in the individual tracks. Everything's going on here. First thing was a filter, up to 125. Next, remove some lower mid-range. This was definitely because of the kick. Remove some harshness in the top end and remove some of the really top stuff because I'm going to be boosting it. And then this plugin, which is one of my new favorite plugins. It is by PSP. It's a emulation of the Avitas Audio E27, and it is absolutely fantastic for this top end band. is probably my favorite top-end band for any plugin. So I'm boosting some 14K, removing a little bit of 3K harshness. Actually, I just realized that should be a shelf. Just a very musical EQ to me. It's got a lot of cool features on it. Check this plugin out if you haven't. And then good old soothe to soothe things. Next we have the room. Doing a little bit of stuff on the individual tracks. I just kind of went through each one and did whatever sounded cool. So this one I'm compressing it and then probably removing some annoying stuff. Yeah. Good punchy low end on this. I like this. I like this mic for that. Just removing some boxy stuff. Didn't do anything with this track. That's because it sounds amazing. And then this one. So this is a mono room track that I just made a little bit more stereo with this plugin. Just removed some pillowy stuff. So all of those together sound like this. Really awesome room picture there. Then again, we filter up to 150 this time. Remove things we don't need. Boost some top end. Compress. But truth be told, I don't love this compressor. At least not for rooms. I want to find a better room compressor, but for this mix, this one worked fairly well. I'm not totally happy with it, but it works. And then soothe. So now if we listen to all of those tracks without any of the sends, sounds like this. It's pretty good. It already sounds fantastic without really having to do too much. But of course, this is middle and that's not enough. So if I bring in some parallel compression, which I only apply to the kick, snare, and toms. Actually, this parallel compression preset I found on Pro C2 recently has become my new favorite parallel compressor. It just sounds fantastic. And I enhance it even more by just boosting a bunch of attack with a transient designer. And you get this like super ridiculous sounding parallel compression thing, but it's cool to blend in. Super awesome. Next is a thing that I recently started doing, which was a drum distortion bus. And I shut out a bunch of my like distortion plugins, and good old Decapitator won, mainly because it's easy for me to just cycle through all these. I just kind of set it to wherever I want, cycle through them until I get the sound I want, and adds a cool characteristic. And so between these two buses, I have like this bus is kind of punchy and very transient based, and then this one is very like splatty and kind of smears everything. And then with the balance of the two, I end up getting just this bigger picture of the drums. It's really nice. Next is all the drum verbs, which I have the snare and toms going to both the drum verbs, and then a respective bus for just the snare verb and the tom verb. And so my first drum verb is good old lexicon, the plate one, 2 seconds long. This is like my main drum reverb. Filtering out some low end stuff I don't need. Pro R for drum verb 2. Again, another plate. This one sounds different. It's a little bit shorter. This one's a little bit darker. This one's a little bit brighter. Then I got my snare verb again, but I got a plate room, like a chamber kind of preset, a lot shorter. Again, getting rid of stuff you don't need. Same thing on toms. I think it's the same preset, just less time, if I'm not mistaken. Or no, this is a medium room. The other one was a large chamber. Yeah. And then I just blend those to taste. It's really just mixing reverbs to get whatever room sound I want. And then on the drum bus itself, I've got a 33609, which is my favorite drum bus compressor. Just doing a little bit. Only a 2-to-1 ratio, nothing crazy. And then this, because I feel like it does something, but I don't know what. Adds a little bit of low end, I think. It just makes it sound a little bit cooler. And then that's all the drums. And then the only thing besides that is I have the kick and the toms going to my outside bus. Going to the outside bus just so they're not hitting, like they're not pumping this compressor anymore. And so it lets me bring up the volume of both of them without pumping that compressor, because obviously those two things have a lot of low end. And if you notice, nowhere in the chains did I do a low end cut on the kick or the toms. I let all the low end through. Obviously, I'm doing a automated one here, but in terms of just like normal hits, there's no there's a small one here for 60, but I'm letting most of the low end through on those. And so to be able to bring them up in volume without pumping this, I just send them to a bus that's outside of it. So after that, we go to just some EQ, a little bit of top end, a little bit of sub, a little bit of 40. Same thing here, low end shelf. Actually, I didn't even do it on this mix. Nothing on this. This is bypassed, basically. Gullfoss, Oxford Inflator, Pro L2, just simple mastering chain, Nothing crazy going on here. I'm not going to spend too much time on this. It's just to bring it up to volume. Yeah, and then that's the whole drum sound. And hear it in context again. So yeah, if you guys enjoyed this video or you want to see more mixing tutorials, leave a comment down below. If there's anything I didn't go into depth on enough, let me know and I'll do my best to explain it in the comments. But to me, this was fairly straightforward, just a lot of EQ, compression, and then just a couple little interesting things on the buses. But, you know, it's a great sounding drum pack, and I didn't really have to do too much in my opinion. So yeah, let me know if you guys liked the video. Leave a like if you did, or dislike if you didn't. I don't really care. If you have any questions, just leave them down below. Thank you.